Now, we're going to turn our attention to Wales, because it's not just Scotland that it's experiencing wobbles in its leadership. Of course, the First Minister of Scotland resigned sensationally on Monday. But now, perhaps, United Kingdom attention will be turning to another country in our union. That is Wales, where the First Minister, Vaughan Gething, he's been in the job around 6 weeks. But already huge scrutiny is being applied to 2 donations that he received from a convicted criminal, each worth £100,000. Now, let's get straight into the detail with Martin Shipman. Now, he's the associate editor of Nation Cymru, and he broke the original story about what is going on here. Now, can you just break down for us? Because it's quite a complicated story. What is the charge being levied against the First Minister?
Well, I was tipped off a few days after the ballot had opened for the Welsh Labour leadership contest that these donations had been made to Mr Gething. And in fact, they appeared on the Electoral Commission's website. But I was also tipped off that the individual who owns the relevant company that had made the donations had been convicted some years ago for 2 quite serious environmental offences, and indeed they were regarded as so serious that he got suspended prison sentences on both occasions. And what he was doing basically was dumping toxic sludge in a site of special scientific interest, which is called the Gwent Levels, which is near Newport in South Wales. And ironically, it's quite a totemic area for the Welsh government, because they made a big thing about stopping the M4 relief road going through this particular area. And then you've got a situation where the businessman who is giving money to the, as he became First Minister and Welsh Labour leader, is actually dumping toxic sludge in defiance of the law in this area. There's been a lot of very serious concern, not only amongst opposition politicians in Wales, but also it's the case that a lot of Labour people are very upset about this as well, because Mr Gething only had the support of the minority of the members of the Labour group in the Senate of the Welsh Parliament anyway. And when this came out, they were extremely upset about it. It later came to light, and I was tipped off about this as well, that the company that had given the donation to him, in fact, owes £400,000 to the Development Bank of Wales, which is wholly owned by the Welsh government. And before becoming elected as the First Minister, Mr Gething was the Economy Minister, so he had responsibility for that bank. So obviously people are saying, look, this just looks so bad and so appalling. So there's been a lot of anxiety in Wales about this, and I've written quite a lot of stories about it. And in fact, tomorrow in the Senedd, Plaid Cymru have got a debate where they are wanting there to be caps on the donations given to individual politicians. But it's something that hasn't really got the attention which I think it deserves on a UK-wide basis. And I think it's a good thing that it's being ahead to
this now. But Martin, just to set out the facts, Vaughan Gething, as Economy Minister, presided over a bank that gave £400,000 to this company. This company led by a bloke who's been given 2 suspended sentences for this sludge dumping. And then that same bloke gives £200,000 to Vaughan Gething, and Vaughan Gething then becomes the First Minister of Wales. What does Vaughan Gething himself say to... Because I suppose those are all incontrovertible facts.
Well, the incontrovertible facts, all he says, really, whenever he's asked about this, is that he hasn't broken any rules. There was a move to refer him under the ministerial code to the previous First Minister, Mark Drakeford. Mark Drakeford had advice from his officials that technically Vaughan Gething had not broken the ministerial code, and therefore there wasn't anything to do about that. Complaints have been made to the Standards Commissioner. The Standards Commissioner has refused to investigate it fully. And so, people have come up against a bit of a brick wall, but there's an awful lot of unhappiness in the Senedd about this, but it goes wider than that, because whenever there's a story done, there's an awful lot of comments coming from ordinary people in Wales about this. And so it's bringing not just Mr. Gething into disrepute, it's bringing the Labour Party into disrepute, but it's also bringing the entire institution into disrepute. People are saying, well, how on earth can this be the case, that this is regarded as okay to accept such a huge amount of money from a criminal? And incidentally, Mr. Gething had previously been involved in effectively lobbying the environmental regulator, Natural Resources Wales, on behalf of this criminal, saying, go easy on him.
This is what I wanted to come on to, because doesn't this company want some permissions that the Welsh Government can grant? There's a lot of controversy over this.
There is. Well, they want to build a big solar plant, which would be attached to the national grid and would obviously make a lot of money for this company. But that has to be approved by the Welsh Government. And who's in charge of the Welsh Government? Vaughan.
Curious. I'm afraid, Martin, that's all we have time for. But thank you very much for joining us. Of course, Vaughan Gething denies any wrongdoing here, but there are serious questions to answer, no doubt. That, of course, was Martin Shipman, Associate Editor of Nation Cymru.